Oh, perfect. Now I can both see us and the slides.
Okay, Thanasis is also in. Yeah. So we have Thanasis and Rodrigo from the Islands Consortium virtually, and us three in Groningen. So perhaps I can kick off. So a very warm welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this webinar. My name is Dimitris Ballas. I'm the academic program director of the Islands Masters Program and Consortium. And I'm joined in this webinar by, well, in the same room with Sisal Dal, who is a recent graduate of the Research Masters with the Islands track. She did the program before it became an Erasmus Mundus program, and she's now working as a researcher in our faculty on islands research and also supporting the program. And also in the same building with me is Reinier Schop, who is the administrative coordinator of the islands program and study advisor in our faculty. And it's great that we are also joined virtually by the coordinators, representatives of for the universities of the Aegean, Professor Thanasis Kizos, and Professor Rodrigo Riera from University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria. Benjamin Henning, who is the professor in Iceland representing the consortium. He's in a very different time zone. He's in Australia right now, so he cannot join. But we can do our best to answer any questions you might have on in relation to Iceland. So perhaps I could move to the next slide. The idea here is that I will give a brief presentation, well, relatively brief, maybe 20 minutes, 20, 25 minutes, depending on how it goes, on the overall idea and the structure of the program. And then we will give you a chance to ask any questions in the chat. So, as I said, I'm Dimitris Ballas. I'm a professor of economic geography at the University of Groningen, but as you might tell from my name and my accent, I'm not originally from the Netherlands. I'm originally from Greece, and I have some islands connections. Before coming to Groningen, I did work at the University of the Aegean, colleague together with Thanasis Kizos, who is joining also this webinar. And this program is actually his idea. He set this up as an idea over 10 years now, I think. And when I joined the University of the Aegean, it's the university spread across 6 islands in Greece. And Thanasis was working on this idea of a program with islands universities only at the time, including the University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria. And I was part of that team in a peripheral role at the time. Then we did get very good feedback from the European Commission, but didn't get the funding at the time. And then when I left the University of the Aegean and came to Groningen, we decided to retry, but try a different type of alliance. So we built on original ideas, as I said, conceived by Thanasis, who is one of the leading experts in islands research, I would say. And in Groningen, so the idea is Groningen is not an island, but we are the second oldest university in the Netherlands and one of the oldest universities in Europe and the world. And it's a very comprehensive university. We have everything here, but we don't have, we're not an island. We have some islands in the region. So we thought we can complement island universities, dynamic institutions with global expertise and scholarships in islands research, amongst other things, like the University of the Aegean, the University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, and the University of Iceland, and offer a program on islands and sustainability, touching upon really hot, timely topics, sustainable development, sustainability from a wide range of perspectives, but also insularity and islands. And I would argue that if you are a geographer, doing research on islands is a fantastic way of doing geography, because islands have a finite boundary. They are surrounded by sea. You could look at interdependencies, issues of insularity, scale, dependency, and so on and so forth. So that's we build on previous work and research, but also teaching expertise and track record that we have across the 4 universities that comprise the core of this program. Having said that, as you may have seen in the website, we have a number of associated partners, more universities, like Uppsala University Campus Gotland, University of Prince Edward Island in Canada, and non-academic partners, and we build on that network. And the idea there is that we have further additional expertise to have guest lectures, but also potentially supervised projects, master's thesis, and so on and so forth. So you can find more about this in the website, obviously, this webinar, and you can see in this slide who we are and our photographs, and also some links to social media channels as well. So we do have post there regularly, and also we use the experience of the current students, and you can see some photographs there from them and the events that are happening. So moving on, as you probably already know, this is a 2-year program, research masters. It's aimed at training the participants to become very strong researchers, potentially to do a PhD if they want to, but also to work at the high level research in a university even without a PhD, or in an organization like, I don't know, the OECD, the United Nations, local government, anywhere that they may require a strong skills in doing academic research, providing evidence for policy, and studying real world problems. The program is a joint effort between the universities that I mentioned, but as it stands, the current format, even though it's a joint effort between 4 universities, the graduates, depending on which university they study, they get a double degree, always a degree from Groningen University, but then depending on whether they go to Aegean, Gran Canaria, or Iceland, they get a second degree from these universities as well. And there is a note in the certificate that this is an Erasmus Mundus program. It's a very prestigious rubber stamp from the European Commission. It's Erasmus Mundus programs are very special in both in terms of, clearly you have to study in more than one university and spend time in more than one university, but also they have been they are subject to scrutiny, like really comprehensive review of the quality and we, in order to get the funding for that program, it is evidence of the quality, and Erasmus Mundus also is a quality benchmark and a piece of evidence. It's useful to point out that. So that's we are really proud and delighted to be part of the Erasmus Mundus community. This is the first program in our faculty in Groningen that is an Erasmus Mundus program, and I already said why. What are the aims of the program? We have some bullet points here to highlight the key aspects, some of the key things that include the motivations for becoming an Islands scholar. So clearly you need to be passionate about sustainable development and curious about planning and islands. But as I said, islands is also, we do have a lot of applicants and students who come from islands and they have this expertise, but you don't have to come from an island country. It could be from a landlocked country, but having an interest in islands. And also, as I said, islands can be seen as laboratories for sustainable development. So there are very interesting case studies to test ideas pertaining to environmental sustainability, social cohesion, social capital, identity, and interdependencies with other islands and the mainland. Throughout the program, as I said, you start off in Groningen. All students start in Groningen for the first semester. You do take comprehensive training in thematic courses and training in research methods. And then you move to islands. I will say more about that in a moment. And you have your own journey, if you like, academic journey through the islands, and involving all scholars from all islands all the time. But depending on which island you go, you have a different flavor of research, both in terms of physical geography, the island you go to, but also in terms of expertise. So Gran Canaria, Rodrigo Riera is a leading scholar in biology and environmental science. Thanasis Kizos is in a department of geography. I am an economic geographer, and Iceland is also geography, but also specializing in tourism, energy. So we have different expertise depending on where you go, and more on that in a moment. And my colleagues in this webinar may also be able to address any questions you may have about the particular aspects of the journey if you go to their islands. Every year, here you get a flavor of the current students. We are now in the second year of the program, which means that we have second year students doing it. who are now working on their thesis, but also first-year students who start in September, and currently they are in their islands. Every autumn, this was the photograph you see here, the one with the nice weather and the untypical blue sky for Groningen. It's in September 2023. This is a snapshot from what we call the Islands Conference. So as part of the program, every year, this is the first conference we had in September 2023, we hold a conference which includes all island students, and we ask the students who have been on an island to come back and tell us what they did and present the research there. But we aim for that to become a wider venue. So it could be an academic conference with additional participation. It is always going to be in the autumn of the academic year, probably in September. And so on the left-hand side of that slide, you see the people who participated in the first conference. And then throughout the year, when we do other events like workshops or social events, the photograph on the right-hand side is from the in following up a one-day event with Godfrey Baldacchino, who is a leading scholar in island studies, professor of island studies at the University of Malta. And we would say he's also the inspiration for that program. His work influenced what we do and sets the agenda for the program. So we are delighted that Malta is not part of the consortium, but he is very willing to come to Groningen and the other partner universities. He also went to Gran Canaria last year as part of a summer school winter school we ran there. And we, as you can see, we are an international consortium. We have international staff, people from the different countries, but also people like myself. As I said, I'm in the Netherlands, but I'm originally from Greece. Sisal, sitting next to me, is from Faroe Islands. And we have Professor Benjamin Henning. He's in Iceland, but he's originally from Germany. And we have students from all over the world. It's really fascinating and very diverse background. We have an international classroom, which adds value to the program, both in terms of the different backgrounds people have, but academic backgrounds, but also cultural backgrounds. And here we have just a flavor. We can't list all the countries. I think in one slide, you can find more information in the social media channels. As I said, you can find more photographs and updates on what we have been doing. So in terms of the structure, as I said already, we start in Groningen. All students have to take a number of what we call thematic courses, which range from specific courses on islands. The first one. So here you see in red all the courses that are core for all island students. And this includes a course on islands, insularity, and islanders that I am coordinating, but which includes guest lectures from colleagues from other universities and beyond. And then we have methodological courses that train the students to advanced and qualitative, quantitative methods, geographical information systems, increasingly also new methods that we are planning ahead. Like, for example, I expect we'll have more on artificial intelligence and related methods. And we also have hands-on joint multidisciplinary research projects working with partners we have in the region and beyond. And so in the first semester, there's quite an intensive set of courses. You also have a lot of choice of thematic courses that you can take in addition to the core modules that we have. And then in the second semester of the first year, all students go to one island, either Lesbos in Greece, Gran Canaria, or in Spain or Iceland. And there they do what we call individual research training. So this is working together with an experienced, established researcher on a project. And also they do an internship with a local, or maybe not so local, it could be remote as well, ideally non-academic partner. So the idea here is to give you hands-on experience on something that goes beyond academia and demonstrates the social relevance of what we do. And then in addition, depending on the island you go, you do some methodological training and thematic courses there, drawing on the expertise of colleagues. Throughout the year also we have what we call a scientific reading, debating and reflecting course, which takes place every 2 weeks in the first semester, and then in the second semester of both academic years, it's once every month, and all students get together and we typically discuss a book. We exchange views on, we ask all students to keep a scientific diary, and also is a way of keeping the cohesion of the group together and catch up with everyone and check on any issues, problems they might have, any questions. And this course is run by myself, is coordinated by my good colleague Franz Sitzma, and also we have Louise Meyering here from Groningen also joining that course. So just to wrap up here, just to show you again, to illustrate the mobility, University of Groningen is in charge of the thematic courses in semester 1 and the methodological courses. And then in semester 2, in the first year, you go to an island, you come back, you tell us what you did, you do more courses, and then you would go back to the island and do your thesis. So that's in the second year, the island universities are in charge of supervising the master's thesis, and this is in close collaboration with us, but also depending on the project with other partners, associated partners, and it could involve fieldwork and visits in other islands and other places. So for example, some of the students that we currently have, they do their thesis, they spend some of their time in Indonesia, for example. So some more, I've already covered some of that. I pointed out the core courses you have as a research master student and island student, scientific reading, debating and reflecting, joint multidisciplinary research project. You work in small groups and have hands-on experience on a project. The internship, it includes, we have a flavor here of what kind of partners we work with, and the list is indicative. We add to it, and we also welcome suggestions by students on who we might work with, and we then work together to set up a plan. And then you also get training in research process and proposal writing that applies mostly for the thesis project. And then you have to carry out what you propose. I have here some examples of what kind of methods and thematic courses you can take. As I said at the beginning, the program is the idea of the program is that we have the coordinator, University of Groningen, which is not an island, but it's a very comprehensive big university and established across different fields. So this means that you have a lot of choice for things that may not necessarily relate to islands, but then you can take the expertise there and apply it to islands. And here I have just a flavor of what we offer in my faculty in spatial sciences in Groningen, but we also are open to possibilities to consider some courses from other faculties in the University of Groningen. And then that you build on that, as I said, on the island with more specific expertise on islands and getting really hands-on experience and experience working with top scholars on islands and sustainability in our partner universities. You can find more about the courses. This is an indication here. You can find more details on what each course is about, the full details, who is teaching and so on, and also possibly new courses that are coming up. This link here takes you, it's an open link that takes you to more information also on modes of assessment, coursework, exams, and so on. So just to wrap up, I already said every partner university, they are really excellent institutions, outstanding for what they do, both in terms of islands research, but also in the topics, geography, environmental science, marine science. We have, and geography is basically everything, you could argue as well. So geographer means that you could be any scientist you want. Anything has a geography dimension. And in addition to the expertise of the scholars on the islands, you also get hands-on experience physically on an island. So you can see here some examples of what our partner universities will look like: Lesbos, Gran Canaria, and Iceland. And then we can say a bit more about what you do when you go to the islands. I don't know, at that stage, maybe, I don't know if Thanasis can take the microphone. I'm not sure if it works. If it doesn't, I can carry on talking because it's a bit of a learning experience for us as well, having that platform. Thanasi, I don't know, is it possible? Are you able to talk from Aegean? If you are there, perhaps you can type something, or can you switch on a microphone? No microphone. Okay, sorry about that. I think I can carry on. It's always very tough to do a proper job. Thanasis Kizos is those of you who will take the program, you will meet him in person in September when all coordinators come to Groningen. As I said, I'm also in a good position to talk about Aegean because I work there. It's a fantastic campus. You can see a photograph of the campus here. It's on what is called the University Hill. Well, Sisal, sitting next to me, also spent some time there, 3 months of her studies as a Islands track student there. So she also has experience with student life there, so she can answer any questions from a student perspective. The university is the campus is on a hill in a forest, pine forest overlooking the sea. When I worked there, I would typically, from spring onwards, cycle 3-4 kilometers by bike. I would then jump in the sea, have a swim in the morning, then have the showers there. I would go up to the university. The university has a fantastic view of the sea as well. There's a restaurant there. And there are courses that are listed here. What you do is the individual research training, the internship. This applies to all partners. But then in addition, you do applied land and marine spatial planning on and for islands and comparative island research. These are courses taught by Thanasis Kizos and his colleagues at the University of the Aegean, and they draw on expertise that is there, academic expertise, but also island-related expertise. And then, as I said, you go there and you come back to Groningen, and then you go to the same place that you were in the first year to do your thesis, and you're supervised by that university together with us, but also potentially involving going somewhere else. So, for instance, one of the students supervised by Thanasis Kizos is now in Indonesia to do work in relation to his thesis. Then we have Iceland. I haven't worked in Iceland, but I have been there a few times, and I can also talk in relation to what it is like to be there. Obviously, very different environment. Not the sunshine is something that you might miss in February and June. In February and when students go there in January, February, and then it does get a bit more sunnier, and you get a lot of daylight later. And there is a fantastic expertise on, amongst other things, tourism and tourism development, also touching upon things of environmental and social responsibility. But also Benjamin Henning, who is the coordinator for the University of Iceland. He's a leading scholar in geovisualization and GIS. You can look him up. He's done fantastic work, both academically, but also in terms of engagement, creating, using how cartograms and GIS and mapping to highlight why geographers and island researchers are relevant to the real world. So that's an additional advantage of being in Iceland. And then you also have issues pertaining to volcanoes, potential management of crisis and disasters in relation to that. Having said that, I'd like to say that, obviously, Lesbos, there's also a non-active volcano there. There is that dimension there. There are also experts in the other islands we have on that field. But Iceland is particularly acute. You might remember, was it 15 years ago when there was an eruption of the volcano in Iceland, and people in Europe couldn't fly for quite some time. So that had maybe a positive impact on the environment, having to use alternative modes of transport. So that's also a relevant theme for Iceland. Also glaciers, and you can find out more through the website. And last but not least, we have University of Las Palmas Gran Canaria. I have also been there. Last year, we ran together with Rodrigo Riera, we ran an advanced course, winter school. You can find more details about that in the website. And again, that's an amazing location. both in terms of the beauty of the place and where it is and the culture and the food and everything, but also the amazing expertise that people have, Rodrigo and his colleagues, amazing labs, and also specializing in biology, marine science, environmental science. But I'd like to point out that there are very strong links with the faculty that Rodrigo is, also with other faculties in the University of Las Palmas Gran Canaria. So we touch upon also economic aspects if needed. And we aim to have a very close collaboration with scholars across the university and beyond. And here again, as it is the case with the other partner universities, we have individual research training. Well, there's a typo here. It's not international; it's individual research training and research internship. And also, we have courses that train students in methods pertaining to themes and expertise that our colleagues in Gran Canaria have: ecological modeling, conservation strategies, and biological population fish parameters. Also, if I remember correctly, there's a strong component in programming in R as well, and that is also something you get increasingly everywhere in all partner universities. It's a very trendy way of doing things for quantitative science and data science as well. So I already said we enrich the program with summer schools, winter schools, one-day events. We have here some photographs. You can see here the students from some of these events. We had scholars like Professor Manos Matsaganis from University of Milano, Polytechnic University of Milano, and Amalia Zepou from Greece, talking about her experience on Greek islands and an NGO that she's been running. Godfrey Baldacchino. We had Professor Danny Dorling from the University of Oxford spending some time with us. He's a well-leading geographer in holding the Hartford Mackinder Chair in Geography at the University of Oxford. He did come just before Christmas this year, and he's very keen to come again. And we had one of his books discussed it with him in the scientific reading, debating, and reflecting session. And then on top of that, he did a seminar, open seminar with people from across the city of Groningen attending. And you get a glimpse here of more what we do. We have, I think, the photograph, the last one on the right is Carl Agius from, he works at the European Parliament in Brussels, and he visited us. He's a PhD. He has a PhD from the University of Malta. He did his PhD with Godfrey Baldacchino, also in the photographs. And he is an expert on islands, but also has hands-on experience on policy in the European Union, European Commission, the European Committee for the Regions where he works. So he also came, and I'm pretty sure he will come back, and we aim to have this kind of visits and more. And I'd like to point out that we also welcome suggestions from our students on who we might invite to come and talk to us and collaborate. As Rainier said at the beginning, this webinar is really aimed at giving information on the program overall. It's also aimed at people who haven't applied for a scholarship but are considering applying for a self-funded position. The deadline is the 1st of April. If you have applied for a scholarship, there's an ongoing process right now, so we cannot give any information here. But if you have a particular question about your application, please don't type any questions here. Please send an email to the email address from which the contact form in the IELTS program. And we can only address questions here in this webinar in relation to the content of the program, and any practical issues, for example, also are very welcome. But please don't ask any questions in relation to your individual application. This is not the right forum for that. So I think that's the last slide, or not? No, there's some more. Yeah, that's particularly useful for those of you who are considering applying as a self-funded student. The fee is 4,500 per year for EU member countries, but also so-called other program countries. That effectively includes, I think, all countries that are part of the Erasmus Plus. So including non-European EU countries like Turkey, for instance. You can find the full list in the website. And if you have any questions about that, please reach out. So I'd like to point out here that the fee, if you are from a program country which is not a member of the European Union, 4,500 is substantially lower than the normal fee you would pay in for a degree in the Netherlands. It would be 17,000 euros per year for that program. If you are from a country that is not an EU member state but part of the Erasmus Plus, it's 4,500. If you are from outside the Erasmus Plus, North America, for instance, then there is a higher fee, but still massively lower than the 17,000, which is what we have for non-EU students in the Netherlands. And also, I would say significantly lower than I think what is typically the rate of studying in the countries like the United States. The fee includes full tuition, but also full insurance, health and travel insurance, and stay insurance for the entire run of the program, including when you are in Groningen and the partner universities. If you need more information, we are here to answer questions now. If you type things in the chat, but also, as I said at the beginning, you can visit the website. We can constantly update it also with using photographs from our students and their experiences and blog articles, but also social media channels, Twitter or X, what's called now, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So thank you very much for your attention. I think I will stop here. We stop sharing the screen, and we welcome any questions you might have about the program.
Okay, I'll just scroll through and see if there's any questions that have come up.
And any of you who joined while I was talking, we would encourage you to type, say hello and where you come from, as we did in the beginning, so that we have a flavor of who is joining us. And thank you for joining. It's really very nice to have that webinar and an environmentally friendly way of meeting people.
There's one question here on whether you can get involved with the environmental science department at the Aegean.
I think the quick answer is yes, but Thanasi, maybe you can type something if you want.
I think he already
did. Yes. Yeah, they are in the same campus. So the Department of Environmental Sciences is just opposite the geography on Lesbos. So as I said, Lesbos, the University of the Aegean is spread across 6 islands. The bigger campus is on Lesbos Island, and also that's where the rector works. So you have an opportunity to also marine science is next door.
Mm-hmm. And there's one question on whether GIS is also integrated in the other universities other than Iceland.
Absolutely, definitely Iceland and also Lesbos, but I think there are people in Gran Canaria also who have that expertise. Mm-hmm. Perhaps not so much from a social science perspective, more from a marine science and biology and environmental science, or pure science, if you like.
And also here in Groningen, it's widely used, of course, during the
and in Groningen, you have plenty of opportunities to do it in Groningen. We have. I'm also an expert in that. I have co-authored the book GIS in the social sciences. So from a social science perspective, we have expertise. Myself, Gert Weitkamp, a colleague here, and more. Richard Rinks. We have a lot of expertise in this. So,
and as a previous student, I can say that there's also a lot of opportunities to integrate GIS in your own research, to projects that you're allowed to design yourself, and topics. Then there are so many different experts here that there's definitely people who can supervise you when you're exploring or when you're learning more. Mm.
There's a question about English tests. I think there could be a conditional offer. That you have the test required by the time of, but you need Rainier will be able to say what the deadline is for that, because you could apply, but then we can say, okay, we can have you as long as you get the score by a certain date, and Rainier has the answer to that. I hope.
You can apply without a sufficient score, but at a certain deadline, we need to have, if you are admitted to the program, we need to have your score in.
So I think the deadline depends on practical issues like whether you need a visa to study in Europe. So if you are an EU national or you have a visa already, then it's more straightforward. If you don't, then we need it is an earlier deadline so that we can sort out the paperwork and help students apply for a visa in time to start in September.
Mm-hmm. And there is a question on what the differences are between methodological courses and thematic courses.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. Methodological courses, as we said, GIS is a methodological course. There is Geographical Information Systems as a method which could be applied on different things. There are qualitative research methods, quantitative research methods, so how to do statistical analysis, questionnaire surveys, interdisciplinary research methods. So these courses are aimed at training you on a method, and clearly there will be a theme because you need to apply the method, but they are hands-on on a particular method. On the other hand, thematic courses are courses that are typically underpinned by theory. So, for instance, I coordinate a course called Urban and Regional Economics, which will change name next year and will be slightly different. But the idea here is that you study economic geography, including mostly theoretical perspectives, why businesses go where they go, why people move, economic theories in relation to industrial locations, retail, supermarkets. There is a bit of methods there as well. For instance, I use GIS to check, do scenarios of where a supermarket should go. But theory is predominant in these courses. We also have demography courses, planning, engaging with different theories. And depending on which island university you go, there are theoretical expertise on the islands as well. So the number of credits, it's all detailed in the website. You can see how many you need from the different courses. And there are some core courses that everybody needs to do for methods, and thematic, also the islands, insularity, and islanders course is thematic, it's not methodological, although you do a story map in GIS for that, which is a bit of a method thing. But the rest, you have a lot of flexibility. So what we typically have here is we have all the students as a group, they do the core, but then they, depending on what they want to do and their background, they pick different thematic courses or methodological courses. If they want to do more GIS or more statistics, there are more courses on that. And I think we have potentially in the coming year artificial intelligence also as a thing in some of the courses, and I expect that this will be more of a thing in the coming years, probably even starting next year. So I hope I answered that question about from Steph, but if you have follow-up, please do let us know. Yeah. So there is a course requirement. Yeah, I mean, we generally, so I'm answering the question by Collins here. There is most of the students, they have a social science background, and we expect to have some training in statistics ideally. But depending on the background, and some people may not have formal training in their academic career, but they may have done some work professionally. So we do have people with, for example, an anthropology, social anthropology background who demonstrate that they can do it. And also we advise on textbooks, how we can catch up with things. So we do keep an open mind. As I said at the beginning, geography is about everything. So any discipline is potentially relevant. But we do very carefully review all applications. And if we feel also based on the motivation letter that someone wants to do it and they have the skills, but it's a bit an unusual application, so to speak, we may need to talk to you and check that you can actually do it and advise and see what other expertise you might have that might substitute for not having an academic experience in the topic. I don't know if there's any.
There's one question on whether you can do thematic courses from outside the Faculty of Spatial Sciences.
Yes, I did briefly mention it, I think, at the beginning. In principle, the answer is yes, but we typically need to liaise with our colleagues. We need first of all to make sure that it really helps the student and they can do it. So if you say you're going to do advanced nuclear physics, for example, and you don't have that background, then we might say, this is, are you sure you want to do that? But then, you could convince us, but that's a bit of a joke I'm making here. But generally, we advise, first of all, we need to see that it fits in with learning outcomes of the program, and there is a reason for that, and clearly there will be, because the students we have are really typically brilliant, and they can find courses that we didn't think that might match. I think last year we had some poetry-related course that some students did, and there was a link to Islands, so we did say it's fine. So the answer is yes, but we also need to talk to the colleagues in the other faculty and ask them if it's okay. Typically it is, but there might be constraints. For instance, if it's a course that requires labs and there's a maximum number, it might be a bit tricky. But in principle, yes, we can. So that's an answer to the question by Gordon from Samoa.
And then a question on whether there's flexibility of changing your mobility track after starting.
Yeah, that's a more tricky question. Generally, we discourage you to do that because we need to plan very well how it works, and also there's some paperwork to be done for the mobility. But having said that, although we don't encourage it, it is possible, if there are strong reasons, it's possible to switch the mobility from the one picked. Also, the one picked preferred in the application is not guaranteed necessarily. It depends on constraints we have. But generally, we're trying to help. So yes, I mean, in principle, everything is possible.
And we try in the interview, of course, to find the best match from the program side as well as your side, if you are selected for an interview for the program. So we try to find the best pick directly.
Is there any other?
And then there's a question on from Aya on coming from an architectural background, if there's expectations to complete before.
Not an expectation per se, but as I said, we do have statistics is something it's something we'd like people to have experience with, some experience. Most people with a university degree will have done some statistics. So if applicants feel they may need to refresh their skills, we can recommend some textbooks and courses online, perhaps, or videos to catch up on that. But generally, the answer is no. There's no prerequisites you need to do.
And then there's a question on sustainable wastewater treatment in hot conditions, whether this is something that one can study.
That's a tricky one. I don't know if I can have some help from my colleagues in Lesbos.
Thanasis already answered the question in the chat.
Yeah.
Our colleagues are very fast in answering our questions, I see.
Yes. So that's
some of the questions are already answered.
But I think, yes. So I think also in Groningen there will be colleagues. This is not my field, but I think it's very likely that there are colleagues in my faculty and beyond that have that kind of expertise.
We have, of course, our program in environmental and planning, infrastructure and planning, and there is a part of it that is also on water management. So surely there's courses on that, but also expertise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then there's a question on whether there needs to be a spatial science component to the master thesis.
Yes, there is a need to have a spatial geography, clearly, but also island component as well, clearly, because it's an islands and sustainability course. So, the answer is geography. Islands by definition includes geography because it's insularity, islands, it is about geography. Mm-hmm. But we do expect that there is this dimension in the thesis.
Mm-hmm. And then a question on what softwares are used in GIS.
Anything, I mean, increasingly we use R, which is open source, but we do also have ArcGIS and not MapInfo, as far as I know, we don't. QGIS, yes, ArcGIS, ArcMap. The University of Groningen has a license, and I think the same applies to the other universities. And also R and QGIS are open source, open software.
And there are also courses in Groningen that offer theoretical backgrounds to GIS. So let's see if there are...
Also a question from Steven on the structure, I think. So is the university to begin enroll with this depends on his choice? No, you always start in Groningen with your program.
Yeah.
And you always come back to Groningen in the first semester of the second year after you've been to one of the three island-based partners. So you always start in Groningen, and the second semesters of each year will always be at the islands.
Yeah. And then there's a question on what you can expect after finishing the program.
Well, I think, as I said at the beginning, the program aims at training really high-level skilled researchers in spatial sciences. This means, well, spatial science is a bit, it sounds like we are in NASA or something. It's not about out extraterrestrial space. It's within on planet Earth. Geography is another word for it. You at the end of the program you have you are a highly skilled researcher in social science and science in general, but then it depends really on the background you already have. So if you come from, for instance, my first degree was in economics, and I moved to geography, so I'm an economic geographer. If I went back in time and had to do that program, I would expect I would be a highly skilled researchers in economics and geography with expertise in islands and sustainable development, with sustainability meaning many things, including environmental sustainability, but also social cohesion. Also, we do a lot of work on social attitudes to climate change, for instance, how people behave. Do they recycle? Do they become activists for the environment? How this may link to social capital in islands. And then you have you can be a researcher working, maybe do a PhD after that, but also working at high level in any organization, in the industry, government, NGOs. So it's a bit of a tricky a question to answer. I don't know if there might be some additional points by my colleagues in the chat. There is a question on GIS, if it's necessary to know that before. No, you don't need to know GIS. You can get training for that, and if you have already that skill, you can further develop it and apply it. But this is not a GIS program, so it's one of the things you could do to. And I also mentioned statistics. Statistics is something you are expected to have some training and know about it, but you could have projects that are entirely qualitative for the thesis, for instance.
Mm-hmm. And did we answer this question?
Is the university? No, I think Stephen was answered by Reinier already.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah?
Mm. And then on whether the graduate or the master thesis is chosen by the student or the supervisor.
The quick answer is yes. We take very seriously what the student wants to do, and we discuss their interests and then match it to a suitable supervisor or more than one supervisor. So it's always a collaboration with the student, but it's a back and forth process, because if the student may want to do something that may be too ambitious or not possible due to data availability, for instance, then we advise and then we develop and fine-tune the idea, but we direct it in relation to the student's expertise and background and interests, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Any other points we haven't covered? Yagaseni is asking if the students can opt for courses from any departments. No, that's not possible. If you mean being in Aegean and then doing a course in Gran Canaria, as it stands, this is not possible. But we do have interaction with other experts, and sometimes we also travel between the islands, or we do online sessions, including the scientific reading, debating, and reflecting. As I said, this runs through the program, and in the second semester of every year, the islands users are on the island. So what we do is they join from a room there, and we also have some exciting platforms developed during the pandemic. We have a virtual version of our building in Groningen, and there are some graphics. There is like a simulated environment, and you go and you chat, and so it's a hybrid session there, and you meet people from the other islands and Groningen during these sessions.
All right, I'm just trying to catch up now. When Rodrigo and Sanasis are very quick, that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
A question from Yassar on how many students we are usually accept into the program.
Well, we have the target is for around 25. I would say 25 maximum for the program. So that's somewhere between 15 to 25. That's the what the aim is, the target is. And just also to refer to the questions about the scholarships, I have to say we have been. It's an extremely competitive program, so we had nearly 350 applications. So it's quite a competitive process, and I think it's useful to point this out. I think from all over the world.
And I think here's quite a relevant question on whether we prioritize theory or practical experiences, or how that is balanced.
It is balanced. That's the key to that. So it's it is balanced. But then again, depending on the student's background, it could be that you do your thesis. A thesis could be on a strictly methodological applied thing instead of theory. So it's the flexibility to make it a bit less balanced if that's what students want to do. But we try to, on average, it is balanced.
Let's see.
Is there anything else? We go through the list here. If anyone hasn't had their question answered yet, please maybe you can repeat it in case we missed it. With apologies if we indeed missed it. Quite a lot of questions.
All right. I think we got through that. If we now have missed something, please send the question again. Not many minutes left. I'm not entirely sure if this completely shuts down in 2 minutes. But in case, I also just want to say that this webinar will happen again at 7. This will be the same webinar, so if you already attended, you can, but you don't need to attend again.
So thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and all the best, everyone. Yes, indeed, stay the future. We hope so. Yes. Thank you.
And again, you're welcome to send any questions. And there's a contact form on our website. You can follow us on social media, where we also elaborate more on the things we talked about today.
Thank you, Asaf. I'm sorry, I can't say thank you in Azeri, but so I'm saying Nick.
Yeah, thank you to all the questions. Also, thank you to Thanasis and Rodrigo who are answering all the questions.
Indeed.
And Leonard, of course. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.